love our Nani and Papi.
I love my papa. We love you, Harmony.
We love our grandparents.
We love our immigrant family.
Thank you for being who you are.
Welcome everyone to the Children Thrive Action Network kickoff event, I Heart My Immigrant Family. My name is Paula Ramos and I will be your host today. And together, we'll be hearing from members of Congress, from journalists, from entrepreneurs, musicians, activists, and from immigrants coming from all different parts of the world. And we're doing this with one purpose, and that is to commemorate Children's Day and Immigrant Heritage Month. But most importantly, we're doing this to highlight the impact that immigrant families are having across the country every single day. As we know, we're in a historic moment, right? We're at this unprecedented time in history where we finally have an opportunity to rewrite the narratives that tell the story of our country. We can finally redefine what it means to be a welcoming nation, what it means to be a country that honors the contribution of our immigrants, and most importantly, what it means to bet on our children's future regardless of their background. And so that's what today is about. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Hinojosa. You might know me because I do a podcast and a radio show called Latino USA. I run Futuro Media, and I'm an author of a book called Once I Was You, a memoir of love and hate in a tour in America. I have so many stories about what I love, my life as an immigrant. And you know, the thing is that these are American stories. Sometimes people want to say, oh, well, that's over there and you're from over there. In the end, we are in this country. So our stories are about our life in this country. They are American stories. And we have to own them with pride. Sure, I felt out of place. I have so many stories of feeling out of place, all of that, growing up feeling like the other. But I also have this very distinct and beautiful memory that was the central experience of being an immigrant. And I truly understand that I had privilege because my family could get all 6 of us into a car and drive from Chicago to Mexico every year. We could cross the border. We had the green cards. We had that privilege. But that experience taught me about this country, crossing the entire country, and getting to know people, most of whom actually were incredibly welcoming in this country. Not to say that there weren't moments. Most of those moments occurred when I tried to come back to the United States, and immigration agents at the border would often treat my family with disrespect. But the immigrant experience was not just about the United States. It was what I was learning in Mexico and then bringing with me into my grammar school, the stories that I would tell, the reports that I would write, into my high school, into my college experience, graduating with a degree in Latin American studies and being a proud Latina immigrant Mexican journalist, American citizen, which means privilege and responsibility. I love my immigrant life and everything it's given for me and given to me. And I give my immigrant life to you.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and I'm proud to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you so much to Children Thrive Action Network for your incredible advocacy and for inviting me to share a few words today. As an immigrant who came to this country alone at the age of 16, this conversation is a particularly meaningful one for me. My parents pooled together the last of their savings in order to send me to the United States, putting oceans between them and their daughter because they so believed in the promise of America. I went on to start the largest immigrant rights group in Washington state called One America, and now I'm one of only 24 naturalized citizens serving in the United States Congress. It's no secret that our immigration system is broken. And it's not nearly enough just to overturn the racist and xenophobic policies of the Trump administration. We actually need to take immediate steps to reform our immigration system in a humane way that promotes dignity, respect, and family unity. That's why I've been working in Congress to introduce legislation like my Roadmap to Freedom Resolution, my Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act, and the HEAL Act, which guarantees that immigrants, those with and without status alike, have the health care they need. We also need to pass the U.S. Citizenship Act, a critical, necessary, and comprehensive reform to our immigration system. There is still so much more work to be done to ensure that we fix our broken immigration system and restore America's place as a beacon of hope. And at the end of the day, we have to guarantee that immigrants can not only get by, but thrive. I am so proud to be your partner in this effort. Please keep up all the good work and know that I'll be organizing right alongside you every step of the way.
More than 5 million children in America have at least one undocumented parent, or a parent who has DACA or temporary protected status. And a majority of those kids are American citizens. Now, the instability that comes from constantly living in limbo is stressful on children and also on adults. And that's one of the many reasons why it's so important that our government creates a clear pathway to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants that are living among us every single day. They aren't only essential workers. They're not just our doctors, our nurses, farm workers, domestic workers. They're also mothers and fathers who are building a better future for the next generation of Americans. We must work towards a path to citizenship that is direct, one that's inclusive and fair, a path that provides access to healthcare and ensures that no child has to live in fear of a parent's deportation or of their own deportation.
Hi, my name is Daishi Miguel Tanaka, and I'm a Filipino-Japanese DACA recipient. I came to America when I was 6 years old with my parents on tourist visas. My grandparents were naturalized U.S. citizens living in Southern California, so we moved there, believing that they can sponsor us through the family-based immigration system. And we had no intentions of becoming undocumented, but we spent months getting thrown around different attorneys, getting conflicting advice, and just quite frankly, bad representation. Eventually, we learned that there is a visa backlog that would result in a 25-year wait for Filipinos in our situation. But throughout that time, I was already attending school in the US, learned English, and I felt at home. I begged my parents that I wanted to stay here. And my parents decided that despite the financial hardships that would come with being undocumented workers, they would do anything in their power to support me so I can finish school and build a future here in this country that I call home. My parents often worked in elderly care nursing homes for very little wages, often being mistreated and taken advantage of by their employers. I did not understand why their employers would often withhold their paychecks from them and why my mom would be in tears. I did not understand why my family, unlike our neighbors, couldn't own a home or a car. And when I watched TV, I did not understand why mainstream conversations about immigration kept forgetting stories of Asian Americans when 1 out of every 7 Asian immigrant is undocumented. When I was in college, my parents' health started to decline, and they decided to leave this country to receive adequate health care and stability. Our current system stipulates that if someone has just enough illegal presence in the US, they are banned from re-entering the country for at least 10 years. And at that time, former President Trump rescinded the DACA program that I benefited from, and thereby rescinded my ability to leave the US and return. So for the past 5 years, I have not seen my family aside from looking through the lens of a webcam, and I just miss them so much. Look, we've been hanging on to this hope that the US Citizenship and Immigration Services will process my grandfather's application to sponsor all of us. But a few months ago, I just learned the devastating news that my grandfather, my Lolo, passed away, giving us no path for us to gain legal residency. The backlog won, the broken system won. And I urge Congress to take action to fix this system so I can have a path of citizenship and finally be with my family and reunite in this country that I call home.
Hi, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. As the proud son of immigrants from Mexico, it's my honor to represent California in the United States Senate. I grew up in the proud working-class community of Pacoima, California, in the San Fernando Valley. Now, our neighborhood had more than its share of challenges, from poverty to crime to unhealthy air, and money was too many times pretty tight. But our home was always full of love, and we certainly had a strong sense of community. My parents instilled in my sister, my brother, and me the importance of getting a good education and of constantly seeking out opportunities to serve others. My parents worked hard for 40 years to give us a shot at the American dream. And today, all three of us are public servants. Now, I'm here because my parents' many years of labor, love, and support, but also because of their good luck. Today, too many immigrant parents are left to struggle against the arbitrary and unfair rules of our immigration system to keep their families together. We need a pathway to citizenship to give stability and security to immigrant children and families working hard in pursuit of their American dream. From dreamers to farm workers to TPS holders, millions of immigrants call the United States home. So I'm proud to stand with the Children Thrive Action Network in fighting for an immigration system that treats children and families with equity and compassion.
Hi, my name is Claudia and I'm from Mississippi. The reason why people need citizenship and my mother needs citizenship is because people need help, like for food, clothes, or shoes. And that problem my mom had, she used to be stressed out. Back then we used to be living, like sleeping in a car. We used to be kind of homeless. But now, because of her, she brought us up to the United States because she can give us a future so we can be a doctor, a nurse, or any kind of stuff. Because of her, we here. And because of her, I'm going to see my future in 10 years or somehow many years. But my mother's a great mother. Because of her, I wouldn't be here. And because of her, I wouldn't have food, clothes, or shoes. She's a great mother. She's been helping people getting food and vegetables and all that. She's been helping people. She's an amazing mother.
All children need a sense of security. They deserve to grow up in safe and healthy environments. But children of color, including the children of immigrants, know all too well that security is simply not a given, right? Far too many children have grown up with over-policing and with police violence in Black and brown communities. They've grown up with housing, family, and food insecurity, with unequal access to education and job opportunities, and with the fear of deportation. And far too many of our leaders have turned a blind eye to the systemic racism and to the very factors that drive these policy choices in the first place. Because they are choices after all, right? These policies are a reflection of how Black and brown lives are undervalued, which means that the new generation of leaders can choose differently, right? They can see things differently. Do we want to be a country where kids of all backgrounds, of all religions and races can thrive? And if the answer is yes, then we need to make changes now. We're about to hear from an artist, an entrepreneur, and a soccer coach. All very different people, but they're all working towards one goal, and that's changing the world for the better.
Hola, mi nombre es Alexa García y es un placer estar con ustedes hoy. I'm a professional poet and musician. I'm a filmmaker, I'm an activist, I'm a writer, I'm an educator, and I'm a self-taught visual artist. And I depict the pain and violence that we've inherited through the beauty that precedes and outlives the terror. As a child who lived through and fled war, as a racially mixed immigrant from Medellin, as a queer woman with Afro-Colombian roots now living in the United States, I learned early on how to use my creative outputs to process the world around me. And in my 18 years of independent artistry, I learned the power of art as medicine, as a tool for remembering our dismembered collective psyche. And today I want to talk to you about one of my longest projects. It's a project that's the closest to my heart. I've been working on it for years. and it's called shadowboxing. And shadowboxing is inspired by a collection of interviews and stories that I've gathered throughout the years of undocumented to first generation LGBTQ folks. It's highlighting the stories of youth, of professors, of philosophers, of thinkers, of musicians. And through this process, I create three-dimensional light boxes for each individual, for each interviewee, that are multi-sensory, that are activated as the viewer approaches them, and collectively make a whole room installation that the viewer is immersed inside of, can engage with, and not only hear the stories of undocumented people, but also engage with their own immigrant story. Shadowboxing is a portrait of homelands left because there was a choice and abandoned because there was no choice. And through the multi-sensory experience, the viewer is invited to engage with these often silenced and invisibilized truths. Each lightbox asks the viewer to bear witness to the beauty, resilience, and power that lives within the immigrant story, and expands their understanding, their compassion, and humanity of the LGBTQ community through an immersive experience. I think this project is important and necessary because it gives literal voice to the courageous, emotional, and in this climate, dangerous realities faced by gender variant and two-spirited immigrant people living across the United States. Thank you in advance for all the work that you are doing in your communities, within yourself, within your families, to expand compassion, to expand borders and boundaries, so that the hearts of our humanity can really run free.
When my parents first came to this country, it was to pursue opportunities here that they could not elsewhere. Namely, to get an education and to build a family. They were able to achieve both because they were not constrained by student debt. I'm often asked questions like, how can we support Black and minority-owned businesses? And how can we encourage young people to be more entrepreneurial? The answer to both questions is to remove the structural barriers Americans, especially immigrants and their children, face. Me and my co-founder were only able to start and grow a business because we could afford to pay for college. It's a privilege our parents worked hard for, and a privilege afforded to too few. Reducing the debt burden on today's students and graduates, which disproportionately affects minorities, immigrants, and the poor, is essential. That is why I support the Children Thrive Action Network in their pursuit of healthy families and communities.
My name is Mutanda Kwesele. I was born in Zambia, and my family moved to Seattle, Washington when I was 4 years old. Currently, I serve as the U14 head coach in the Columbus Crew Academy, and I'm also the founder and director of The Rising Point, an organization that uses the game of soccer to develop quality people and build community. Part of the maturation process for anyone that comes to this land is discovering exactly where one fits in the society that's been created here. Growing up, what helped my siblings and I immensely is that we had two amazing educators, our parents, who helped instill in us a love of reading, a love of our culture, and a real deep sense that we really could achieve anything we set our minds to. From that foundation, what drives me as an educator working with young people is helping them discover and become more aware of their history, more intentional with their thoughts and their language, and more responsible with their actions. My experience as an immigrant is deeply connected to the way that I view the game, but also the way that I teach young people. And from this standpoint, I really can't separate the lessons that my parents taught us with how I go about my craft today.
For children of immigrants, deportation of a loved one can be a constant fear. Even if the kids are US citizens, they may grow up fearing that knock on the door from ICE or that phone call from mom in a detention center saying that she won't be coming home tonight. It's hard enough to be a kid, and a parent's potential deportation can lead to sleepless nights, to PTSD, and to fear, and all of those things can morph into adolescent misbehavior, into poor grades, and acting out. We often say, in fact, we love to say that we value family values and family unity in this country. And if that's true, we need to have policies that ensure that all families can be together, including immigrant families. So let's meet a family that is living that reality every single day.
Hello, my name is Buchaina Hamdi and I am 28 years old. I am currently in Casablanca, Morocco, after being deported from the USA in 2017. I lived in the USA for over 20 years and I don't know anything else. I went to the USA with my family when I was 2.5 years old and stayed there ever since. Lived life normal, went to school, made friends, did everything just like the normal American would. At the age of 18, I got married to my husband, which was literally the worst mistake I ever made and mainly the reason why I'm here today. I was mentally abused and manipulated and physically abused. And now I have 2 beautiful kids that I left behind, a daughter and a son, and I want to be able to get back to them by any means. It's been a long 4 years and some, and I just don't know how much longer I can actually handle it. I haven't seen them, I haven't touched them, I haven't held them, and that's not easy for any mother. So I'm asking and pleading for help. I need someone to help me get back to my kids and the only life that I ever known. I don't know anything other than the USA. I was there from the age of 2.5 years old all the way to the age of 24. So it's hard to be used to something and then come to a third world country and have to adapt. No matter how long you're here, this never gets better. So I really hope that some way, somehow, I can get back to my kids and my entire family. I'm here alone, and it's not a good feeling.
My name is Nina Marie Fernando. In addition to a multitude of identities, including being a mother and a partner and a singer-songwriter, a multi-faith community organizer, I am a child of immigrants. My mother originally immigrated to the United States from Sri Lanka with her parents and siblings in 1968. Years later, she returned to Sri Lanka, and in March of 1983, she met my father at a dance. In July that same year, they witnessed the horrors of what would later be known as Black July. They decided to get married in September that year and moved to the United States to start their new life together. My parents have helped so many people get started here in the United States, driving them to job interviews, helping them set up their homes, helping enroll kids in schools. And I was born and raised in California. I had the privilege of growing up with my father's parents who moved to the United States to help take care of me and my sister. I have such good memories of my grandparents singing us songs and pointing out the different birds that visited our rose garden. My family believed in the promise of America. Yet, in the face of racism and all forms of inhumane policies and family separation, that promise of America has not yet been fulfilled, and our American ideals have not yet been realized. Every day, all of us, along with our nation's decision makers, are faced with the option, the choice of moving towards this promise, these ideals, by advancing and advocating for them, or moving away from them by ignoring, disregarding, and undermining them. I now serve as the incoming executive director of a multi-faith coalition committed to ending discrimination against Muslims and building a society where all people are treated with dignity, no matter their background, because I believe that those American ideals my parents sought after, dignity, equality, and fairness for all, are what we can and we must aspire to, for ourselves, our children, and the generations to come. As a new mother myself, this could not ring more true.
So we just heard very powerful messages. And if one thing is clear, is that everyone who took part in this program has a role to play in our world. All of us together can change the world. But to do that, we need your help. We need you to call your representative and your senator and tell them to create a pathway to citizenship right now. Recruit your family, your friends, and ask all of them to spread the word. So everyone that was involved in creating this beautiful tapestry of our country, thank you so much.
Yo soy de Colombia, emigrante 100%. Tiramos como bomba, te damos en un momento. Así somos los latinos, nos quedamos bien por dentro. Respiramos como peces y nadamos en el viento. Somos un ingenio, indígenas y negros, mestizos y morenos, blanquitos, cafecitos. Bailamos con lo ajeno, peleamos por la libertad y tomamos el veneno. Hacemos medicina, convirtiendo la pobreza en espíritu relleno. Somos el grito de la conciencia. Con alma amazónica, cuerpo de montaña, voz de acordeón con un poquito de armónica, manos con paisajes que suplican la memoria, que se quede bien cerquita, que no se vaya, que se quede sentadita tomándose un poquito de tequila. Suramérica creó la gente más bonita, con salsa que se baila bien pegadita y pies de reo pa' que se mueva la colita. Somos el grito de la conciencia. Te da con la chancleta, te sirve buñuelitos y te da agua de panela. Aunque no sea tu mamá, te regaña y después te da huevo con arepa, eso sí que te la araña. Crecí en una patria con poquito, en la calle chamaquito, que comen pegamento y toman de a traguito. Pa' cubrirse contra el frío hay gallinas que botaron a todo su pollito de su nido, porque no había trabajito. Hay también campesinos que amanecen con el sol, hablan con la tierra y le crecen la cosecha de solo un friol. Curanderos y chamanes que se transforman como caimanes, queman palos santos y caminan en el aire. Toman ayahuasca para contarnos los secretos que relató el río cuando habló con todo el universo. Ay. Festival de la flor, asalto a sangre fría, caribeños llenos de calor, poetas en los buses, músicos cantando del dolor, medicina en los poros cuando se llena la disco de sudor. Aunque pareciera que no fuera, considera la magia que naciera cuando a los latinos se les permitiera vivir más allá de la frontera. Somos el cuento que la gente no se cuenta, porque dice muchas cosas sin decir ni una letra.